So I am thinking ahead to a future project that exceeds the current dimensions of my print bed. So I'm going to need to do some assembly here. The thing is one of the pieces that needs to be assembled is a flat panel. So I'm looking at printing this up in at least two pieces, but how will I join them together? So I have some options here, and that's what I want to investigate in this video. I want to figure out what is the best option to create a nice strong joint between these flat pieces of my panel. Now, slicers like Bamboo Studio and Orca Slicer can add in these pegs or dowels right before you slice your project. But for me, when it comes to projects that will have several pieces to potentially assemble together, I like to take on the design of the pegs so I know how everything will fit together and hopefully catch any issues with peg or dowel placements. All right, we're going to try out some ways of joining these two pieces together. So the first set of options involve the use of pegs that will fit into cutouts or holes along the side of the panels. Now, this is a fairly common way I've seen on YouTube because they help to align these different pieces up and provide additional surface area if you want to apply glue. Now, there are many different shapes and types of pegs that you can use. You have the cylinder-shaped peg, box-shaped pegs, and even flattened rectangular pieces, and I've seen them called splines. These can all serve as pegs. Now, there are some different ways that you can implement these pegs and holes if you're trying to bring together two pieces. One piece can have the hole on one side, and the other piece can have the peg, and they will go together and fit together. But you're going to notice that for me, I opt to print the pegs separately as separate pieces and then have the cutout for those pegs on both pieces. I prefer to do this because it allows me to print these pegs without any need for support, as they will most likely be suspended off of the bed plate if they were attached to one of the pieces. Now, printing up a cylinder on its side does have some challenges because it does end up with a flattened side. So that is another issue that I have with using pegs that are a cylinder shape. And that's the reason why I often lean towards the rectangular or box-shaped pegs. Now, this brings up another important thing to consider, and it's the orientation of these objects when you print them up. For example, you could print up the cylindrical pin vertically and avoid having that flattened side that would normally rest up against the print bed. But the issue here is that the layer lines are now running across the pin rather than along the pin. And the pin is now more likely to break along these layer lines, which is what you don't want. So ultimately, I would rather print them up flat along the bed. Now, don't forget about the holes for these pegs. Ideally, you would want to print them up without the need for supports because it does become a little difficult when you're trying to remove them. Now, printing up these holes or cutouts without supports can be problematic because if you have a large cutout or hole to contend with, you are now asking the printer to bridge the filament across the tops of these holes, and the bigger or longer the cutout, the harder it is for it to bridge without some sort of sagging of the filament, which could alter the shape and clearance of this hole, which ultimately needs to have a snug fit with the peg. So that's what I wanted to figure out here. Whether or not I go with cylindrical shaped pegs or flattened splines or square pegs, how will they print? And how well will they work in holding together two flat pieces? All right, taking a look at the two plates or panels that I've printed up. Again, you can see how they are just 1 centimeter in thickness and wanting to connect them like this. And I've set up a series of different shaped cutouts for my pins or pegs or dowels, splines, what have you. I printed these up without any supports. I do notice that, especially when you look at this cutout here, you'll notice that this cutout would have to stretch that filament across. And because of that, you can kind of see how we have a little bit of filament sagging down there because there was no support there. This is a problem because obviously it's going to change the shape of this cutout, and so when it's time to put in our flat shaped dowel or spline, it's going to rub up against this and it might not even fit in anymore. It even applies to these smaller cutouts here. It's not as much, but you can still see how there's a little bit of sag there, some filament that just sort of hangs down, even with the cylindrical shaped cutouts as well. Looking at all three of these, right now the diamond shaped is looking the best. Now I could print it up straight up and down like this and I would not need any supports, but it's the direction of the filament now that would become a problem because the filament layers would now run across, and if I'm using this as a plate, that might be a point of weakness where it could snap because it is going across the thinnest part of our plate. I have heard about people that will print it up at an angle like this where you have kind of like the best of both worlds. No need for supports inside here because it is coming up at an angle as the layers are being printed, and the layer lines themselves are not going to cross the smallest part or the narrowest part of your print. It would be sort of coming out at an angle. I have never tried this. I'm kind of curious to see if anyone has tried this. My big concern is that this is just a small portion of this plate or panel that I'm going to be printing up. I'd worry about this thing extending across the build plate, and I'd need a lot of supports for that. I don't know if that's going to be something I want to get into. So I am going to print it up like that. So even though we might be dealing with a little bit of sag here, let's see how our pegs, splines, or dowels do. We'll start off with the flat looking dowels. They will sometimes be called splines is what I've seen. And I will use the cutouts on this side. That fits in nice. Snug enough that it's not going to slide out. And we'll talk about how we can design these in Tinkercad in a bit, but let's just see how well these things fit together. This side seems to be really loose. That's interesting. But it does line them up nicely. I wish it just held it a little bit better than that. I would be gluing these two together, so it would hold it firmly in place. But that's the one type of dowel there. Let's try out our cylinder-shaped dowels next. And these ones had that flattened side, so I am worried about the fit of these. Really snug. But that's actually pretty good. I'm actually happy with that. That's definitely not going to come out. Let's see the other two. Same thing on that side. That was a little bit looser. But that's the dowels in place there. Let's put these together. Yeah, that. And again, because the dowels are really snug and it fits snug on both sides, like that is really being held together quite well on its own. I will glue this together in my project, but it's not bad. Do you feel like the print of this and having it flat on one side does impact the fit of it? It does make it a little bit more snug, but this is definitely workable. Okay, next up, these are the box-shaped dowels, and those will fit those cutouts there. So let's put those in. Now I'm noticing that both the round and the square-shaped dowel cutouts here have been fitting pretty tight. And I wonder if it's because of the overhang there and the bridging. Maybe there was some problems there with the filament hanging down, because it really is a much tighter fit than, say, the ones down here. So I do find that there is inconsistency between the cutouts, and maybe even inconsistency between the dowels as well. But let's put them together like that. That is holding it very well. I'm happy with that as well. All right, next up are these diamond-shaped cutouts. And the reason for this is because this cutout does not require supports because of the angles there. It's basically 45 degrees, and that's an overhang that the printer can handle without any need for supports. The pegs themselves are going to be these box-shaped pegs, but the dimensions of them are going to be smaller because of its orientation in the panel. Let's see how this does. Snug. That's pretty loose. This is pretty loose as well. Like that's even going to fall out. Interesting. So it does seem to be a bit of inconsistency there between the cutouts, because I can switch these dowels around, and it does seem like this series of holes in here or cutouts seem to fit tighter around those dowels. Here is the other piece. It doesn't feel as secure as the other ones. I feel like the cylinder and the box-shaped ones did a better job, and I wonder if it's because it's just simply larger. This, I would say, did a good job as well. I wonder what it would be like if I actually had 3 instead of just 2. Of the 4, The diamond-shaped ones seem to be the least secure. And that's not just the ones that slide out, but also too, when I put them together like this, it does feel like there's a little bit more movement between those two pieces. Whereas the other ones really did have a much more solid feel. So obviously some adjustments need to be made here in order to get that perfect fit. It might require you to adjust the size of the cutouts, make them a little bit smaller, maybe make the pegs or dowels a little bit larger. So creating the cutouts for the pegs or splines or dowels, it's a pretty straightforward process. And there's many different ways that you can do this. For me, again, I tend to lean a lot on sketch. In this case, an extrude sketch, where I can quickly create a circular shaped cutout. Maybe it's a diamond shaped. Maybe it's a square-shaped cutout. And of course, you can decide for yourself how deep these cutouts should go. For me, I went with 2 centimeters or 20 millimeters because these were going to be fairly large pieces, and I wanted to ensure that there was going to be a strong enough connection between these two plates. Whatever the case, you want to keep in mind the different dimensions of these cutouts because that's ultimately going to inform the size of your pegs. Because again, you have to allow for tolerance there, a little bit of space in order for these two pieces to fit together. All right, let's talk about the pegs or the pins or the dowels, whatever you want to call them. You can see here that I've got them matched up to their cutouts. These cutouts were found on those pieces that we were trying to join together, and here are the pegs. Now, I want you to see that, again, just a reminder, the pegs themselves are slightly smaller than the cutouts that they will fit into, again, because of tolerance. And what I mean by that, if you're not familiar with this already, if I have this cutout here that has a diameter of 8 millimeters, you're going to see that the peg itself has a diameter slightly smaller than that at 7.6. My rule generally when it comes to my printer and its settings and the filaments that I'm using, I tend to pull back 0.2 millimeters off of each side. So that's why when you have this cutout here and it is set to having 20 millimeters across like this and 4 millimeters back, the spline or the peg for this is 19.6 millimeters across and 3.6 millimeters back. 0.2 off of each side or each surface, and I'm left with those dimensions. Now, does this work all the time? Not necessarily, because as you found out earlier, some of these pegs were a little bit loose than others. And so I would adjust this and maybe I wouldn't go 0.2 off of each side. I might go maybe 0.1 and see how that did. And let's see if that's a better fit. So again, it's a bit of trial and error here. Now, when it comes to actually building these things, that's where it gets a little bit interesting. You're going to notice here that for all of these pegs and dowels that I've created here, they all have that beveled edge. And that is something that I've seen on a lot of other videos, and it's a recommendation just to help with the fit as you are inserting the peg or dowel into that hole. But how you achieve that is going to be very different depending on what kind of peg you're dealing with. For example, when it comes to these box-shaped pegs or pins, I believe the way to go for this is just go ahead and use the box shape generator. And the reason why I really like this option is because of this drop-down menu here. You have the ability to add in through the radius setting here, and for this I'm just going to enter in a value of 1. Now that gives you a fillet or rounded corner of 1 millimeter, but you can take the steps and push that all the way down to 1, and now all of a sudden you have that nice angled edge. Not only that, it is applied to the corners as well as the sides and the top and the bottom of this shape, which is exactly what you want when you're designing your pin or peg. Make sure that when it's time to resize this peg, that you enter in the values here using the sliders or just clicking on the number and entering the specific dimensions that you want for the length, width, and height. This will ensure that you're preserving the look of these angled surfaces and you don't run the risk of stretching them out when you try to just use the grab points here and try to resize it by grabbing these white grab points here and then changing the dimensions. What you end up doing is stretching out that beveled edge. Entering in the value down here will help prevent that from happening. That looks a lot better. However, when it comes to designing the cylinder-shaped pegs, I don't go with the cylinder shape generator. I actually go with Revolve Sketch. And the reason why is because When you open up the cylinder shape generator, there's no way for us to adjust the dimensions of this cylinder using the drop-down menu on the right. And so as a result of that, if you're going to adjust the proportions or dimensions of this cylinder, you run the risk of stretching out those beveled edges. So that's why I go with a revolved sketch, because I can sketch in those beveled edges and literally just draw out my cylinder using the appropriate dimensions that I want for this particular peg. Now, don't forget, when you're using revolved sketch, you need to be aware of this center line here, because whatever is drawn to the left of that line will be revolved around this center line, and that will complete your overall shape. So in this case, I'm just drawing the 1/2 of my cylinder pin here. And again, if you need to make adjustments to your pin, for example, for me, I needed to adjust the tolerance here so that this pin had an overall diameter of 7.6 millimeters. I could select the points that I wanted, change my snap grid settings to 0.1, and then using my arrow keys, bumping it back to the appropriate radius to give me the overall diameter of 7.6 millimeters. So for some of the folks that are very familiar with Tinkercad, there's probably not a lot of new concepts here, but I wanted to get this video out there because this is something I'm currently exploring for a project. And for those that are not familiar with dowels or trying to create these cutouts and pegs and pins, I'm hoping that this was helpful to you. Now, if you're familiar with Bamboo Studio or Orca Slicer, it is possible to actually generate your own dowels in the slicer process. However, there is a reason why I'm going through this, and it's because I want to try to create some way of locking together pieces using a dowel type of system, but having it lock in like a snap pin. So that's what I'm going to get to work on next. So that's the end of part 1. Stay tuned for part 2. Until then, take care, and I'll see you on the next video.